Will Earthblade come out in 2023? The answer may surprise you. That was my first video to ever get any significant, in my opinion, traction in the algorithm. I was super struggling with a headache. I had a migraine like crazy, and then out of nowhere, there was a release window for Earthblade. It was spring 2022. I hopped on my computer. Somewhere I got the second wind, and I just popped out some news coverage, and some people actually enjoyed it. It was really early, and it was really encouraging, to be honest. Unfortunately, Earthblade isn't coming out, and even though I've had a couple years now to just have it as a part of my expectations for what the future of games will look like for me, that isn't the future that we're moving towards. Today it was announced that the game is canceled. I have my concerns, and this evening I want to do a little talk through a couple points, because this has been a comical week of tragic cosmic proportions for all of humanity, and if it would feel good to just fully grieve something kind of medium to small sized and concrete, that would be good. I would enjoy that right now. I want to talk a bit about my thoughts, my not fully informed thoughts, just my, I've read the articles about Earthblade updates. I don't closely follow the devs or anything. I just am informed. Talk about the breakup and what it means for a lack of a possible, wow, this feels like Celeste 2 type of game. And then I want to take the map that they put out. There's a map for Earthblade that we can go through and appreciate and just kind of dream about what that would be like. And in the end, I just have a couple thoughts about cherishing games in the here and now that I wanted to say out loud. I thought that would be nice. But before we begin, I wanted to shout out Lucid. Lucid is a game that sounds like a sponsor. It's not a sponsor. This is just where I think I should say it. Lucid is a game someone's been working on that is inspired by Celeste and Metroidvanias. So even though I'm going to be talking forever about how I wish Earthblade was the Celeste-like exploration game, there is somebody who has that covered, so no more about that now, but please go check out that project. It's been a labor of love, and they post a lot about it if you're interested. Like, there's a lot of update posts, which is pretty cool, but they have like tiny views, so go give them some love. So it's not that the Celeste team has been disbanded, but the nucleus of extremely okay games could be said to be Maddie and Noelle. If you're familiar at all with the developers of Celeste, then you know that Maddie is Maddie because Madeline is Madeline. Like she was a big part of the narrative in her game. Trans, mountain, yeah. There's a lot there. I'm not going to rehash it, but this is a very, very personal project for her, obviously, but less visibly, Noelle Berry, I know his last name, Noelle Berry, Maddie Thorson, I'm sorry. Noelle is also like a long-time collaborator, like very much a core part of the nucleus with Maddie. Like, these are the people who are doing a lot of the core stuff with the concepts, designing, and actual, programming and creating of the games. They are the nucleus. They have gone back to being the nucleus, and this isn't said very loudly in the article. It's actually kind of a footnote. The point here is that somebody left the Celeste team. If you ever open up Celeste, it says in the beginning, a game made by, and I think I can name them all, Maddie, Noelle, Amora, Pedro, Lena. Oh, I'm so sorry to the last person. Holy crap, I'm sorry to that last person. Fuck. Fuck. If you open up Celeste, you can see that the team credits themselves just by first names. It's just some friends making a game together, in addition to, very powerful professional friends making an highly artistic collaboration and everything. But this is a tight-knit team. And Pedro, who is the pixel artist and UI designer, had a falling out with the core members, Maddie and Noelle, over IP rights to Celeste. And I was gonna say something about that, but the second time I read the article, I realized that there was nothing inherently directly saying that. there was going to be like, one party wanted to make more of a franchise of Celeste and the other didn't. That was my immediate assumption, but it actually wasn't said, so I'm not going to go down my thoughts about that rabbit hole. I'm just going to leave that be, because I think even more important than that is I didn't really process what Pedro did in the team the first time, but the pixel artist, that's, yeah. You can't really keep making this game without the pixel artist. I don't think that's gonna work. The Celeste art style is multifaceted, and every part is very important, but man, it hurts. It really hurts to know that the person who was doing the pixel art for all of that, I mean, the UI fucks too, but the pixel art, like, that is, they're both good, but the pixel art is just like, oh, we cannot go on. Like, that's not gonna look the same no more. It's really hard. And unfortunately, in the subtext of this article, it said that, okay, it said literally, but Maddie and Noelle are going back to doing simpler games, like smaller project games. So this is going to be somebody like, they never said simpler, they said smaller. It could be incredibly complex and still small. Okay, that's fine. But in certain ways, simpler projects than the gigantic adventure Celeste follow-up Earthblade, this big project that it was. And that means that Maddie said, that they're obviously hoping to work with the Celeste team sub Kyle in the future, which I was like, oh, so you're not doing that now. I didn't understand who was in Extremely OK and who wasn't, but it seems like these other parts of the Celeste team sub Kyle aren't necessarily like, I don't know, full-timing the same way that Maddie and Noelle are. Oh, and they said that it's been a failure. It has ultimately been a failure to expand the core team. So Extremely OK Games, the core team is no longer what I assume was Celeste team sub Kyle with still Pedro at that time. The Extremely OK core team is now just 2 people. That's what it sounds like. So that's actually even more gutting. I mean, it's already pretty bad once you realize that Pedro was the pixel artist for Celeste, but the fact that like they're not immediately going on to work with the rest of Celeste team sub Kyle is really sad. Like, I know they're gonna make good stuff. I don't even know who was involved with Towerfall of this group, I think Pedro must have been, right? Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe they managed to have a fairly consistent art style with all 3 games, or all 2 in a hypothetical games without him. But yeah, just scaling back anybody who was a part of those games, it's gonna feel different. It's gonna feel really different. And I do hope that someday they do get the gang back together, but it's a different day, It's gonna be a game that wasn't conceived during the finishing of Celeste, It's gonna be a game that wasn't carrying the momentum of Celeste. We're not getting the follow-up to Celeste, we're not getting that necessarily. So, again, I'm basically just, armchair analyst here. I'm just a fan, I don't know anything you don't know probably. But my thought about this is I feel like the indie game scene at large probably needs to take note of this because, it comes with the timing of Team Cherry doing their cake ARG thing that wasn't a cake ARG. They just had one of the main people from Team Cherry do a super cryptic thing with his Twitter profile where everything was a distinct cryptic hint to April 2nd. But this wasn't about Silksong. What are you thinking? That was such a blunder. Obviously everyone is gonna think that you are doing some kind of ARG for Silksong news on the Nintendo Direct. You've done it before. So that has really highlighted just a lot of dissatisfaction with the Silksong development. And I'm aware anything you say on the internet about the Silksong development comes with 5 layers of context. It's just been a very big thing, but that's all I mean to say. The Silksong development and the PR for it has been a very big thing. And I don't think that it's something that people should necessarily strive to put their fans through. I'm not saying that it's malicious or evil. It was just definitely could have been handled better. Anybody could say that. Then something very big and crazy that I think is being handled decently well, but is Goliath is Deltarune. You know, my big 3 indie games have been, you know, for follow-ups, Earthblade, Deltarune, and Silksong. You know, those are amazing games, hugely impactful. So looking forward to the sequels. All of them have had crazy sequel development, you know? Because, I don't know, it's a complicated thing, isn't it? I would imagine if you're a small team or just 1 or 2 people, it's gotta be hard to manage all the money and the expectations and the project and all that stuff. And my thought is just, I think we might kind of be seeing a weakness of the sudden genius indie developer boom, where, you know, just because you know how to make an amazing game doesn't mean you know how to project manage. And I do wonder if an advantage that mainstream game developers have over small indie teams is project managers with experience, you know? Because you might have somebody on your team who has a good amount of experience with managing this kind of thing, but if you're a company with a decent amount of people, you probably have numerous people that have a lot of experience. And I just can't help but feel that, you know, Deltarune was always meant to be like a 10-year development or whatever, but in the end, Toby brought in a project manager, or a producer. He brought in a producer is what it was. So effectively, he managed the project, you know? Like, I'm sure producers do more than that, but the project was managed, and now it's going better. Silksong apparently is going at the exact pace the Team Cherry wants, but I don't think anybody should do their follow-up sequel the way that they have done it in terms of how early they told us about Silksong. And Earthblade didn't make it. You know, Earthblade had its own challenges, but something like IP rights? Like, I'm not a lawyer, but back in the music business days, we would do a split sheet and we would say up front who has what share of whatever. I doubt it's that simple. I'm so sorry. I keep throwing shade into the universe at extremely okay games for no reason this week, and I was doing it before this even broke, but I don't mean to throw shade. I'm not calling them inept or whatever. I literally don't know how game business works. I'm just saying, as an observer, shit, you know, an entire project died partially because of an IP dispute, which I imagine happens less the more experience you have with numerous successful games in your company. I just have to imagine you can see that kind of issue coming further away. And yeah, like, they brought in Kyle because Kyle was able to oversee things and put Earthblade on a more clear track. That's what the update was before the termination. They were already struggling with some stuff, so Earthblade did have a rocky development, you know, before it went out. It wasn't all Pedro. It's a stupid... I mean, to simplify it, they had numerous struggles, so I just look at these 3 games that I've been following and say, yeah, I could imagine the stress, you know? And this last one, I don't go here, I don't follow this very closely, but Mina the Hollower got announced 5 years ago, just about, and it's still not out. That I think has demos and stuff, but whatever they're doing, you know, I think they're either gonna have a really big success, like, look, we kept the hype up all this time and we made it, or it's gonna be like, shit, no, we never should have said this 7 years ago, the damn mouse game still isn't out. Like, I'm not even that big of a fan, and I'm like, should they have talked about Mina that long ago? I don't know. I just imagine that comes from experience, and it's definitely gonna get me into hot water to say that if you're indie, you don't have experience, but the more people, the more likely there is experience, is my pot shot, my gentle pot shot. So I don't know whether talking hypothetical armchair business analysis is the same as the bargaining state of grief, but I'm ready to move on from it to the next one. Is it anger? I don't know. All I'm saying is no more of that. I'm done with the and the ba and the logic and whatever. I just need to get my feelings out now. So let's take a look at this map, right? There's some really cool stuff. Notably, the center part of this world of Earthblade map, this was the first thing they said. It was like the first recorded thing from the development of Earthblade. It was a map that Maddie created, and then Amora made vibesy, basically. The center is the drill shaft. Oh, it's a drill. I thought it said drift the first time, but I looked at this and now I see drill. So there's a drill shaft. Oh, yeah. You go down. Core. The core scaffold. Oh, it's a giant mining thing underground. There's core bob. What is this? I don't know. Lob. the flooded lab, the core lab, the flooded lab has like some cryptid in it. So that's pretty cool. That would have been really fun to explore, especially if it's a contrast with the more natural theme that we saw in the trailers for the game that was going to come out at some point. There's the wilds, lots of trees. I reckon that's what we've seen. The worm tunnels. That's cool. The worm tunnels. That's a distinct thing. It's really interesting. Like, they're very narrow. Although I suppose if you're playing a 2D game, that might just be a normal level to you. Then again, no. They showed us some really, really open-looking places. This might have felt more claustrophobic. When I looked at it, I was like, this is gonna be claustrophobic. What is the resting place? Ooh, can you imagine that? You take the wrong turn in the wilds and you go through the worm tunnels for a long time, and then when you come out, you're in the resting place. I feel like a lot of people put their graveyards out there. It's like a mix of Kingdom's Edge and the actual graveyard from Hollow Knight. So then the outpost is very non-specific, right? There's no adjective there. Light L... I don't know what that says. But the outpost, and then the barracks, academy, and council. I think this is like a capital city type of thing, because how can you get away with just calling it council? Like, where is the flavor? Where's the importance? I reckon that this is where, like, the center of culture in this area would be, because it's like, of course you know tower. Of course you know the tower. It's connected to the council. It's where stuff goes down. Notably, it has a bit of that Dracula's Castle look with the Soten walk up. The little upwards diagonal part that goes to the tower. That's very Symphony of the Night. The academy is in there. Oh, it's an academy and a council. Maybe it's a bunch of like academic, scholar, intellectual types who, I don't know, make decisions about things. Maybe it's not government, but there's barracks. Come on, you got like an all-in-one here. How could you get more different from the academy? The barracks, it's like two massive halves of human existence. So then we have kind of the Aria of Sorrow floating garden type places, and maybe this is just a symbol for like a bigger alternate dimension with its own map, but there's the stasis meteor and the sentry cluster, and those look really fun, but I wonder what the scale is like, because they're floating in the sky, presumably. That's cool. When I first looked at those, I was thinking, oh, well, this probably wouldn't have been much of a Metroidvania, because how the fuck do you get to those? But then I remembered, like, no, you can warp. You can warp in a lot of games, and Aria has floating gardens that look just like this. The Nova engine, I got the impression this was like the end game. There's a big star. It looks like it probably supplies all the energy. Very striking, you know. The Central Tower and the Hub City. Okay, so there's the Hub City and the Central Tower, but I was reading the Armed Academy as more of an important place. I thought that would be like the government or something. Maybe it still is, but I don't know. The city's pretty important too. The Bunk Bridge? No, the Link Bridge. I'm not that good at cursive. The Link Bridge, that's fun. I was thinking there could be a way where you fall off of the bridge and go all the way down to the wilds, you know? Maybe that's how the game starts, because it would make sense for your character to come from the hub city, and it would make sense for the wilds to be world 1-1, like greens, you know? So I think that might be a thing. And also, I guess, maybe they have a passion for making their characters fall, because they did it really well with Celeste, you know? The standby drones, that's like, I don't know, like, are they waiting to catch people? Are they on standby to catch people who fall? I don't specifically have a guess for them without knowing anything else about the world. The maintenance cables. I think the maintenance cables look really cool because they're so thin and they're like floating up there and they connect some really interesting areas. So I kind of reckon that they would be like a really cool thing to look at on the horizon when you're in the lower areas. But then when you get there, it's some kind of fun gameplay gimmick about like riding the cables or flying or something. That seemed really cool, especially going from the Symphony of the Night War College all the way to the Nova engine. Seems pretty important at that point. The autumn asteroids. Now we're talking. That's like, my one thing is like, I have been looking forward to this game. I was never 100% convinced it was going to be like the best thing I ever play. I mean, it had potential out the window, but it's a little generic. It's just like Earthblade, like, whoa. I don't know. What are you going to tell me next? You're inspired by Ghibli? Like, it's just kind of fantasy? I don't know. But the autumn asteroids, that's new. That's new to me. The autumn asteroids, they have like a sky, island, tree, but like there's water running and there's like an overarching theme. I enjoy that. I really enjoy the autumn asteroids. I suppose asteroids would have given it a lot of... There's an old city. Huh. And a fog valley. And it leads out to the illusory tower. Whoa. Okay, that's cool. I reckon that sequence would be really cool. Because it looks really far away, the illusory tower. I feel like both those areas would be at least cool, if not original. They're at least cool. The illusory tower. Oh my god. To be looking up at that the whole time when you're traveling, that would be really cool. There's pirates. There's a cave that has water. The depths. Oh, it's an underwater segment. You go down to the depths. Wow. And I suppose maybe there's some overflow from the depths into the flooded lab. I mean, I guess that makes perfect sense. There's something evil coming from down in the water. And they're drilling into the earth. Don't tell me there was going to be environmental themes here. Don't throw me. The crystal growth is really cool. There's a gigantic lizard, like fuck scale. It's bigger than most of the houses. I don't know, like it's huge. It's absolutely giant. Oh look, there's a dark city underneath the city. There's classism here. I think there's classism here. Standby drones. Oh wow, the light elevator? I think it's a late elevator? The light elevator is really beautiful. When the more I look at this, the more I come to like it. Like, just beautiful little things. The cables, the light elevator, the worm tunnels are really cool. I like that the scaffolding just whoa, there's a cryptid. There's some kind of creepy animal down in the cave scaffolds. God damn it. That thing's cool. It's got like one scary eye. Man. It's a big elevator. Yeah, fuck scaling. We don't need that. And so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Yeah, I think it has a cool vibe. Maybe I'm just like not fantasy pilled enough to be super into it. It has a pretty cool vibe overall, but maybe, I don't know. Maybe you have to immerse yourself in it to like fully be there. But at least this map for me is really cool. It has a lot of style. It brings something out. It's got meteors, flags, man. Yeah, I would have liked to run around that. That would have been cool. That would have been cool. Could have talked about that for a very, very long time, I think. And I wish that I could have. So, in closing, I feel bad that I brought up Mina the Hollower. Kind of like, I wonder how that project's doing. Possibly good, but is it? Like, I feel bad that I kind of threw any kind of weird vibes at it because I had something really nice to say about it now, but I'm a little broken up this week, if you can't tell. There was about a 24-hour period where I wasn't sure if going back to America and using my passport would be a felony or not. That was about 24 hours where the president of my country was like, if you use a federal identification document that doesn't match the sex you were as a gamete, then we're gonna have problems. And I was like, well, buddy boy, I'm in a foreign country. I have to use this passport. Fucking idiot. I really liked something that Yacht Club Games said when they announced Mina, because they're the esteemed creators of Shovel Knight, which, there's some distance because I haven't fully connected with Shovel Knight yet. I've just dabbled in it years ago at this point. But I loved something they said when they said, we wanted to know if Shovel Knight is our Mario, what is our Zelda? And I really like that dichotomy because those two games do have a lot of great parallels and foils with each other. Like, Mario is this very physical thing. It's very simple. Zelda is more cerebral and story-based. There's characters, novelty, puzzles. Like, it's a different kind of focus. It's a different pole of existence, you know? It's just not focusing on the same thing. Now, of course, I think Celeste had a lot of both of those. Great story, very stimulating, but you know, it focused more on platforming, that's for sure. This was going to be a big grand world with like less just vibes, dream, trip sequence world building and more of an established thing. And, you know, exploration, puzzles, it would have been their Zelda, you know, in my opinion at least. It would have been a different side of the coin. But, yeah, it just doesn't feel like anything they can make now is going to be quite the same. And I don't mean that it's going to be bad, but there is a warmth, you know? I was just talking on stream about how, like, you know, if you could pick one art style from Celeste to have the whole game done over with, to have it cohesive, would you do the hand-drawn art style from the talk sprites? Would you do the pixel art? Like, would you pick? I don't think most people would. I think there was just a warmth and a distinct style, and I think maybe they ran in the same engine. I don't know. They just felt like very similar games. Like, it really felt like we were gonna get Celeste's Zelda. We were gonna get a really cool sibling, a really cool, like, extension of the family type of thing for Celeste. And I just can't picture, like, the team coming back together at a later point in their life and making something super similar. Pedro's pixel art's gonna be gone. It just feels like the end of an era. And I wrote a couple things about the weird feeling of, you know, there's obviously other stuff on my mind, but having this cold feeling that I feel for a video game. I've never really had this kind of thing before, so, you know, I wrote here, like, it felt so wonderful having this on the horizon. And as I mentioned, it was with Silksong, Deltarune, and itself, Earthblade. Like, they were this kind of lovely, really promising indie game trio. And for years now, they've been on my mind. But now things feel quieter, you know? Deltarune's gonna start coming, and I'm fucking glad right now. But, Silksong is gonna be Silksong, but this is gone. And, you know, there will be more games that are similar, that I love, A minus amount, the way that I love Celeste, and, you know, sequels to that, but they won't ever be the same. Like, I want to plant more seeds. I want to take care of more games. I want to give more games love the way that I love Celeste, but at the same time, it was this plant that I was loving right now. It was this one. It was really, really nice, and I think it's kind of special to have an evening where I can even focus on that feeling when life is so distracting and there's so many other things to mourn. I wanted to cherish this forever. I've had a good era now where I've been hopping between series and expanding my horizons and going, but this really made me want to stop and just appreciate all the games that I already have. Like, I don't think they're going to disappear. There's issues with, you know, making sure that games are preserved, but I don't think most of my games are going to vanish. But there's a specialness that you can feel in a game. There's a uniqueness. There's a sense of life once you see it disappear, you know? There was a uniqueness in the friggin' dark city and the Soton College with its own barracks and all that stuff we were just looking at. It's special, you know? It's unique to itself. It's hard to lose that. Buying a console and getting all the good games and just being set, having this one console with this one setup, like, that's a feeling that I really miss. You can dig into it for years and years and years. I have not added anything to my GameCube. My GameCube as a collection of games is complete, and I'm happy with it as it is. I might add a little bit, but, you know, I can sit there and just enjoy it deeper and deeper and deeper. Some things have layers. My 3DS, I do this constantly with. I am always getting deeper into the games I already have, like Miku. Miku is just sitting on my DS, and now Project Mita is like one of my favorite 3DS games, and the way that that adds something to the layered experience of playing that console, it's different from all the other consoles. It's its own rich thing. I wouldn't trade it for the world. Like, each one is special. I think you lose that a little bit sometimes if you're looking at games as a constant flow of novelty. Like, if you have games stuck together as part of a system, like, these are my GameCube games, these are my 3DS games, they have a certain specialness together, and I think that's very important to me. Like, my Wii games are important to me because I like the style, and even though I never took the Wii very seriously growing up, as an adult, I love playing it, and I love my Wii games, and them together is something really special. And I think when you give something the time to be special, you can go deeper into its layers, whether it's a library of games that I'm talking about, or a console, or just one really particularly deep game. Sometimes it's time to spend more energy on my Game Boy Advance. Sometimes it's time to spend more energy on just Celeste. Like, I think Celeste, I've done Celeste Month for years now. I'm not going to stop doing Celeste Month. It feels bigger than me. It feels like whether or not I celebrate it, my friends will celebrate it now, because every time I come back, there's something new. It's like doing the entire heavy lifting of my GameCube. I think I've spent more time, at least in the time since Celeste came out, on Celeste than I have my entire fucking GameCube. So if I had another one, we were gonna have another one, and it was gonna... I wanted to make videos on them both. I wanted to spend time with them both. If there was anything as deep as Celeste's, I would have had enough for a lifetime. I would have had, you know, the extremely okay games duo of games just to chew on and enjoy forever, the way that I enjoy Sonic Adventure 2 and Mario Kart Double Dash, you know? You can put 700, 900 trillion games on Game Pass and funnel them down your throat like so many Slurpees and move on if you want, but I am the type of person to cherish games and replay them and spend time with them forever. And even if I don't get back to replaying them, at least cherish the memory. And I like putting them together. I like cherishing them as sets. I like genres. There's a reason that I very carefully have created my personal system for putting together my Metroidvanias. I love seeing them together. They bring something out in each other. And to take some of them away, or to take half of them away and make them just go away, it would be different. There would be a different energy. It would be different. So it's really hard. There's a legitimate coldness that I feel, losing that specialness, you know? Like, again, it's funny that I'm using a console comparison to talk about two indie games, but take your Game Boy Color and your Game Boy Advance and smash one of them and all the games in it with a sledgehammer. You're missing something. You're missing something. You still have games to play. You still have so many things to do, but all the hours you were gonna play on those specific games are gone. And this is like, you know, spiritual or whatever, life philosophy, but to have the okay, extremely okay Celeste duology not be a thing, there's a real mourning there. Like, Celeste is awesome. Celeste is so deep. But two Celeste? That sounds greedy, but to have had that as a given for so long and then have it go away, I'm just realizing that there is something unique to every game and every experience that can't be replicated. Because everything deserves to be cherished, so I feel a coldness, I feel an emptiness. This was never priority number one, you know? I never made an Earthblade video. I never sat down to do it, but one part of this garden of games that I'm looking forward to or raising or have in my past is gone, and it just makes me want to slow down. And yeah, it just makes you want to slow down and appreciate things while they're here. To finish on a light note, Juno said I should call this Getting an Autopsy on Earthblade, which is really fucking funny. Yeah. Getting an autopsy on. I could do that. You know, some people do series like that. Why did this game go wrong? Why did this game die? What happened here? I don't know if I would enjoy doing that, though. That would be dark. So I guess I got a reverse pulse, is what I'm saying, with all these weird metaphors. I felt something. I felt what it was like to have Celeste and a game full of Celeste juice, and now it's just Celeste, and Yeah, it's like I've lost a pulse. I've lost a pulse. I felt it. I felt what that was gonna feel like to some degree. It felt really fun. And now we don't have that. So we've lost a pulse. We're getting an autopsy. Yeah, so take care. I hope in some weird way this helped you grieve. Yeah, that's my only goal. I like to set goals, you know? When you don't get many views, you have to have some kind of concrete goal. I hope somebody was helped by this video with just processing. Whether it was this, probably not statistically, maybe a couple people or something else. I hope this helped you, you know? It's awkward and ugly and very silly grieving, so onwards to more living and losing, trying and hoping. See you.